Shooting it raw?
Yes. Shooting it raw.
One of my favorites. One of my favorites.
Okay. So this is called Namibia.
Glad you picked that.
I didn't pick. It's just the way because some people send, I say 4, some people send 5, some people send 10. And it's just the way, because I don't want to see them, the way it all gets kind of processed is, I mean, the rest aren't even downloaded. So this is what it is.
All right. I love that it downloaded that picture right here.
Okay. So in the photograph, it's very warm. What I love is that it's completely an opposite to the previous photograph. So stick it in my eye because I love it. There's a guy in the photograph wearing a sort of long sleeve, dark long sleeve shirt. He's wearing a black baseball cap. The arm is tan. The light's super warm sun, afternoon sun, maybe morning. I'd say it's afternoon. In the background, out of focus, are trees that are, shrubby, open. It doesn't look like a North American kind of forest. But the image really is this man, it could be you because it's the same earrings, warmly, generously, lovingly holding on to a beautiful, humongous cheetah.
Yes.
What the fuck?
It is me with a bit more facial hair, which I don't grow out because I have the hair growth of a 5-year-old.
Okay.
But it was during my Namibia trip. In the pandemic, as you see in 2021, I would say I traveled more in the pandemic than ever before.
Wow.
Because those trips, they were by definition, the perfect isolation.
Right.
Because I had a Jeep with a tent on top. I would drive around about 3,500 kilometers through Namibia.
Wow.
And I would always just sleep on my car.
Yeah.
So the only exposure I had to people ever was maybe on the counter of a national park through the open window of my car.
1 second. Have you had COVID yet or no?
I had it way before it got popular.
So you got COVID.
The very first summer. Yeah, in 2020.
Okay.
I got it, and
I don't want to take that, but let's talk about the cheetah. Go.
So this was pretty much towards the end of my trip. I can't really say where it was because the people that owned the place asked me not to because that's not an official picture. They don't do the thing where they have cheetahs and they have you pay money to take pictures with them, right? Because then again, I wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
So the purpose was something different. It was a campground. I got there and there was no other car, as on every other campground that I went to at that time. And so the owners, a very nice couple, invited me in for some tea at night. I was like, oh, that's nice because, they didn't have the official food serving because there were no people. So they said, we still want to give you some food. So I walked in and I saw the picture of the cheetah hanging on the wall. I was like, oh, wow, this is one of my favorite animals. I wish I could see one.
Yeah.
I did see some on my safari a week before, but
up
far away, right?
Yeah.
And then we would talk. And as we talked about the same stuff we're talking since 50 minutes and 16 seconds now, they said, we have two here, right? I'm like, what do you mean you have two here? And so they told me the story. There were 2 baby cheetahs that were brought to them, I think 3 years back, where hunters shot the parent animals, right? Okay. And Namibia doesn't have animal protection programs, so they would have just killed the pups.
The cubs,
the cubs. Why would I say pup?
It's okay. I need a beer. Because they're like pups.
And the cubs were brought to them, and the people said, we don't know what to do because we found them, there was just some shootings happening and whatever. And they said, you know what, because they were farmers, they had a huge area around the house.
Okay.
We will just raise them. Because they knew they loved animals. They knew if we don't, we would bring them there. It's not even a place you can bring them. They would just be killed. So they raised them. And in an open field. It was fenced, but more for the sake of their own protection, so they couldn't run off the street. And displayed, what you see out here, probably that size.
So out the window is essentially a big kind of flat area, very, very large and expansive. Yeah.
Super large. And he said, I feed them once a night. They will come to the fence. But I also go into the area to do some maintenance every once in a while. And tomorrow morning, I will do some maintenance. We will not have any guests signed until 3 days from now. So if you want, you can come with me. They are not territorial, so they're not really fighting any species that comes in their cage. But they were raised in a surrounding where they always see humans, so they don't see you as a threat, right? Yeah. So we walked in, and it was just tall orange grass.
Okay, I have to interrupt for a second.
Yeah, sure.
The image, I don't think I made it clear enough. is that you're hugging this enormous cheetah cat that's leaning against your leg. Your head, your chin is on its head.
And it's smiling.
It's got a smile on it. It looks like you're kind of ruffling its neck. Yeah. And its eyes are closed. And it looks like pure abandon and tenderness.
Yes.
I just wanted the listener to go like, okay, in case I missed it. But you're saying, so then in the morning...
So we walked in, and he said, I have a little cup of milk that they said they may come, they may not come. Right. So as I said, they're not trained animals. So, and at some point, I heard like an increasing volume of like the ruffling bushes and something that was like footsteps. I go, oh man.
Oh wow.
And then one came running towards me and jumped up on me.
Oh wow.
And
your fight or flight instinct is like
internally I was freaking out because that animal was like taller than me.
Yes.
And so he also said before, like if they come and if they would get up on you, you have to be careful because they have one claw. They cannot like retract. Right? It is just out there.
Oh, okay.
So I'm not sure if it is a scar, but like the long sleeve sweater has a huge hole in it now because like it got stuck. It was like hanging in my long sleeve, right? So I went down so the animal could go down. And then he placed that milk on the ground. Okay. And I don't want to say it yet, but I have to, otherwise the story doesn't work. There's a second cheetah behind me, right?
Okay,
here.
I
here,
see
right?
I can just see it.
So the two cheetahs laid down because I initially told you there were two cups, right? Yeah. So those are the two. So they were laid down and drinking the milk, and then he said you need to put your hand next to it so that they get your scent.
Right.
And if they start licking your hand, that's when you can do whatever.
Nice.
So, and that's what happened. And then he said, I'm going to fix that. There was, I don't know what it was, something made of wood. He had to use his hammer. And he said, just sit there and see what happens. Yeah. One is really jealous. So if you start like touching one, the other one will come and that kind of stuff. Just don't make sudden movements and nothing coming from behind their head because they will like freak out. And then based on their body weight and whatever, if they make sudden movements. And then this one would lay on me, and as I was hugging it, it would fall asleep. It fell asleep in my lap, and you know, as you can imagine from a normal cat, when they do the
purring,
that thing, it vibrated my whole body.
Amazing.
My whole body vibrated. And I was sitting like that for like, I think half an hour.
Amazing. So, one person told me a story once that I didn't. So did it lick your hand?
Yes, and my face, and it really hurt.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yes. Really hurt. People who have baby cats, or people who have cats at home, and they feel the roughness of the cat tongue, and they're just like, oh, okay, yeah, cat's tongue is rough. And he was saying that, like when it licks you, because they use their tongue to remove the meat off of bone.
Yes.
And it was like, I don't know. So you're the second person I've spoken to. Yes. So
yeah, they do that, and
it really hurts.
It really hurts, especially in my face. There was a time before when I was sitting like this. I was laying on the ground. I was like in all kinds of positions because you couldn't really. When they walked over you, that you just leaned back and then you went on the ground, and and this was, as I said, for 30 minutes I would sit there like this, and hands down, this was the most beautiful moment of all of my travels.
Amazing, Thomas. Like it's amazing. Amazing. I think so hopefully somebody who's listening to this is going to look at all the photos because the photographs are fantastic. Hopefully hear in your voice that so let's say you're talking to 15-year-old, even 20-year-old, 30-year-old, whoever it is, who comes to you and says, what do you want to do? And you're like, I don't know, what do you want to do? And they go, I don't know, what do you want to do? So how do you slap them awake? How do we mention to them how amazing the world is?
I think it's you can't simply answer this question, really. It's like also a chapter in my book, and I think we became disconnected over time. Okay. So someone who lives in a big city and had no exposure to nature will not care about nature.
Sure.
So I couldn't come with these pictures and be like, look at this waterfall. So it's a waterfall. So
So what? I'm
just going to take a weekend trip and I go, whatever. Yeah. But if it's gone, I don't care.
Right.
You know, as long as the Wi-Fi works. Right. So it's not. That's what I'm saying. Like it gets like we will have a hard time convincing the next generations from the beauty of nature if we disconnect from it. So.
Yeah. how connected were you as a kid?
Well, I grew up in a very small town with like about 800 people. My parents, or the house I lived in, the transition time after I sold all my stuff and I moved to California, I lived in my old child's room again with my parents, which was amazing. And it's like a house right at the forest edge, right?
Right.
So my time out of the house was always like building a tree house, trying to catch fish in the creek, falling from a bike, breaking my ankle, doesn't matter, then just watch out better next time,
Sure.
The total opposite of today.
Right. Well, so two things. One of the things was, when you think about the world's forests, and then it was really surprising to me to being in Canada. Canada's humongous. Mm-hmm. And hearing like which areas have the largest forests. It wasn't Canada, it wasn't the US. Europe has the largest forested lands, which is crazy to me.
Yeah, would have not guessed that.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
And then I think because if you go north in Canada, it stops being forested. It's just essentially taiga and whatever. Like it's not very treed. So the fact that you grew up close to forest, but I'm assuming no large animals.
Yeah, just deer, like nothing else.
Okay. So you're a musician. You're a writer, you're an author, you're a gifted photographer, you're obviously a gifted scientific researcher. Okay, how do we put seeds in people's heads to go like, just go for it, just live, you have one life, make every second count?
I think people should just go and not go by conventions, not think in a box as like, what would my parents think if I don't do this job? What do my friends think if I now decide to do this? You just have to do what you like to do, because essentially if you're not happy, then your whole life is pointless.
Sure. Okay.
Right? It just really comes down to this. Like if you wake up in the morning and you're like, oh shit, then change something.
Yeah.
Like the moment you wake up in the morning and the first thing that comes to your head is like, I don't want to do this or that, or later today, shit, there's soccer practice. Stop. If you don't want to go, stop it, right? Wake up to, like I did. Like I did a job, I didn't like it. I could have, and I talked to many people in my company. No one liked that job. But I went back to school. My parents said, do you think you can do that? Because your grades weren't, good enough. Yeah. Other people, my friends said, like, you're 22. You really think it's smart to now go back to university? Yeah. Because they already had mortgages on their house.
Right, and obviously it was, because look at you now.
Yeah, exactly. And you will never see it in the moment you make the change, but every change usually leads to something better. So,
brother,
go for it.
Brother, okay, let's make that selfie. I'm going to stop this recording because I could talk to you forever. Thank you.
I thank you for coming.
Danke. Thank you. So, is life really a gift? Really? Can you make every second count? That's the whole point of the podcast. So, if you like what you've seen and you're inspired, because that really is my mission, then please give it a like, subscribe, and share.
Shooting it raw?
Yes. Shooting it raw.